All right, guys. Justin, this new inspiration came to me. And right after I came up with the idea, I saw that my phone charger was at 88%. So apparently abundance is within my grasp. But hey, another cool idea for like somehow to translate Redwall into the collective consciousness. Hey, I was just thinking about what about a Redwall themed mod for Skyrim? Now, this is just an idea, just talking it out, but there is a mod out that I know of that's Redwall themed, and the fact that you can get the Sword of Martin, aka Rat Death, as a weapon to use. So, that in and of itself, that's a nice call out. But what if somebody actually made like a small, almost DLC-sized quest with its own addition of weapons and stuff that was vaguely Redwall themed? And I was thinking to myself, well, how would they do that? Because it's like, would you play as animals, or would you meet the animals and help them out as a human? Would it just basically change the race thing to where, like, red guards or otters and orcs or badgers or something like that? And I was thinking, no. You would still be a human being, but the DLC would be heavily influenced by Redwall. Like, you realize that you're doing your own DLC that's with the people from Elder Scrolls, the Nords, the Orcs, the Argonians, and the Red Guards and all that. You would realize that you would be doing your own DLC, but that there would be things that would be an obvious shout-out to Redwall. There would be things that would be an obvious shout-out to Redwall. That it would probably be like a Helgen DLC, and if you think about like a lot of Redwall stories, usually the Abbey is in trouble, and it's being laid siege by some bad guys, and the good guys have to send a party off on a quest to find a mystical artifact and or liberate some kidnapped enslaved friends, and also to send friends to call out for help, usually to the Badger Lords and Salamandastron. And I haven't thought up of all the specifics yet, but what I was thinking that would happen would be like, if you ran into a quest, and if the quest fit in Skyrim, it sounds like a DLC that would happen in Skyrim. It still has everything that happens in the world of Tamriel. It still feels like just a quest, a DLC-sized quest that has a few new additions, but everything's like a shout-out to it. Like, you would get a sword, and it would look like the Sword of Martin. It would be called, Skeever Death or something, but it would obviously be a shout-out to that. You would run into some allies that were in charge of a boat, and were the rivermen, basically, and even though they would be human beings, you would realize with some of how they're being named, and the fact that they serve you hot root soup, means that these guys are stand-ins for the otters. Like, maybe it could be like the leader is a skipper, his name is a dog. I mean, he's got a dog with him because in Redwall they call them otter dogs, and he's got an outfit that has otter skins on it. And those otter skins, those would, that would be like a thing that you could get. And if you find like an outfit that's based off of like a fox or a mouse, you would kind of get like boosts or status effects from that outfit that kind of goes along with how they're described with in Redwall. Like, that like the mice would give extra stealth because of Gaunt the Mouse Thief, and extra courage when attacking with a sword, Martin the Warrior. You could even go and have a quest almost kind of like the Knights of the Nine, where you run into a ghost that's obviously a shout out to Martin the Warrior. So I was thinking that it would be like, if it was cool, if it was like a mod, DLC sized, and it would basically kind of start out like Helgen in the fact that you're trying to set up a fort and defend it. And it'd be interesting, like, if the fort was run by a scribe, because that's like an author and a priest, but a scribe named Jakes. We wouldn't even have to call him Brian Jakes, but he would be named after Jakes. And the thing is that it would be like a sanctuary for blind children, because Brian Jakes wrote a lot of his stories to have a lot of vivid detail because he knew that his audience was blind children, so he wanted blind children to be able to understand it. And the thing that this DLC would offer would be not just another quest where you fight some people and you get some artifacts and you protect a castle, and then like their outfits or their names are nods to Redwall, and all that. But it could also be that you would get new ingredients for food, because a big part of Redwall is food. You would get ingredients to make, hot root soup, deeper than ever pie, and the stuff that the moles make and all that. So the thing is that if we had this Redwall themed DLC, it wouldn't just be that your character gets some armor that vaguely seems themed for Martin, and that you have a ghost guide that, although human, seems to remind you of the ghost of Martin, and that you would fight some bad people that were fit in Elder Scrolls lore, but you can tell by their outfits and how they act that this is a nod to Redwall. I wonder, I can't say for sure, but I wonder if there was a nod to Redwall in Oblivion. In Oblivion, you go on a quest to find out about these women that tempt men, and then they tempt men to sleep with them at this out-of-the-way cabin, and then they mug him. And one of the women is a Khajiit, a cat, and her name is Tsarina, like a female czar, a female empress from Russia. So it's like, holy cow, is that a reference to Zarmina from Mossflower, the Mossflower book by Redwall, by Brian Jakes, who passed away, ironically, while I was in deployment. That's really sad. But I read a lot of his books as a kid, and I was thinking, there hasn't been a lot of good Redwall games. They're trying to make a Redwall game, and God bless them for trying to do it, but I haven't heard so many favorable reviews. There are good games that remind you of Redwall, like Inherit the Earth, and I think it's like Fur and Fang or something, where it's like about basically cannibalistic communist animals that I heard held up all right. There's some games that is like, if you like Redwall, you'll like this game. But the thing is that there could also be something that would kind of be like a mod that is just an homage to Redwall. And it's like, it's not Redwall, it's still in Elder Scrolls, but you get like a weapon that might be named the Scourge, and it's based off of Clooney's tail. And, you would find other things to it. I haven't thought out all of the details. Basically, I'm thinking that the quest would start where you find like a rose brick church. That's a nod to Redwall. And, and there's a guy that's in charge of it named Jakes, and he's protecting blind children. And so you, like in the Helgen DLC, you basically turn it into a fort that functions, that has a farm going. You gather together a militia to guard people. And you gather, and it could be funny how it's like their outfits, they'd still be humans or Argonians or orcs, but their armor or their outfits would be like vaguely mouse themed or vaguely otter themed or something like that. And there could even be that there could be like a big fat woman in the kitchen who's keeping order, and even though she could be human or orc, she could have like an outfit that like there's a badger pin on it that makes you think, oh, this is representing the badger mom. And since the badgers go into a rage, maybe they'd be like a more civilized version of the orcs. But the thing is that there would also be other aspects about it too. One, you would learn how to create some of the foods from Redwall. They might, give it a different name, and of course they'd give it different benefits from being able to cook it, but there might be, different foods. Like you could come up with cheese, and maybe the DLC will call it Gomph cheese, because Gomph the mouse thief, which Brian Jakes said he was the most like as a character, Gomph the mouse thief would sometimes, whenever he was picking locks, he would sometimes get it all nice and lubricated with the grease from the cheese before picking the locks. So it's like, well, that would be interesting. You could create, what if the DLC gave you the ability to create cheese that whenever you ate it, it increased your lock-picking skills? So there would be other things that could be shout-outs to it, to where it would still be this Skyrim game, but it's like a little shout out to something that's like, this isn't Redwall, but it's a nice shout out to it. It feels good. And it could be kind of like, reincarnated elements of Redwall's best. I was thinking that you would alternate between, there'd be three things going on. One would be defending your castle from the siege. The other would be going on a quest to find some kind of artifact, kind of like in Pearls of Lutra or something like that. And you could go there and, maybe the bad guy is the Emperor of Pines, because Ublay's Mad Eyes was a pine marten that could hypnotize scorpions. So there would be Ublay's Mad Eyes. Like, the main enemy might be an emperor off the coast. And he wouldn't be a pine marten. He would be a human being or an elf or whatever. But he would be the Emperor of Pines. And, like, he would probably have a pine marten as a symbol so that you realize what this is a shout out to. And Emperor Ublay's Mad Eyes had a bunch of lizards with lances as his guard. So this guy would have an elite Praetorian guard of Argonians who were quite good with, martial arts and using halberds. And the queen could be a shout out to Zarmina. And she could be a Khajiit, because that's actually pretty close. That's something that's lore friendly to Elder Scrolls that would kind of also be a crossover. And, and I don't know if we would call her, I don't know what we would call her, but she could have she would be the Tsarina. So there would be the Tsar and the Tsarina or something like that. But, she would be like a character there. If you had to finally quest over and take it to the bad guys and such. And they could have mercenaries that could be whatever race, but you know how, like, the Romans and the Vikings would sometimes wear animal furs to show rank or to show that they were berserkers or to show that they were commanders. Like, the Romans would sometimes wear, like, wolf skins, like in Caesar's Legion and Fallout, but also in history, or lion skins or bear skins. And then you would have the Norse berserkers who would have the wolf skins and stuff like that. That could be a part of their armor that's merely for decoration, but it's kind of telling you, oh, this is kind of inspired by the fox characters, or oh, this is kind of inspired by, the rat characters. And there could be several things that you have to do to where it's like the bad guys are hiring mercenaries. The mercenaries would be pirates, whether they're human or elf or orc or whatever, but you could tell they would be based off of that. Anyway, I should really think this one out and maybe draw up a very specific plan to give people a better idea who don't know a lot about Redwall. I just managed to think of it on my own now, but I'll get back to you more on this. And this is about the creativity stuff, because if YouTube isn't going to let me have my little conspiracy theory hour, then, I can at least, get some stuff out of my system that's just a brainstorming idea, even if it's something as frivolous as video games. And I'll still upload stuff about conspiracy theories and all that, but you'll have to see it like on Daily Motion or something. Anyway, thank y'all for listening. I love to hear creativity. We can talk about conspiracy theories, but it's something good to talk about, but it does kind of weigh you down after a while. It does kind of poison you. Like the Bible says, and I'm saying this as a philosopher, not a theologian, but a philosopher. What the disobedient or what bad people do in darkness, it's shameful to even mention. It needs to be mentioned, but it's a shame that you have to mention it. So even though it is wrong for YouTube to censor me whenever I'm talking about certain things, and to make a rule that specifically, tries to censor me just because one person acted violently on it, but they allow videos up where they show their conspiracy theories, but people have acted violently on it. But I don't know. I guess because it's left-wing, it's okay. And I'm not a left-winger, but I'm not a right-winger either, so I'm not here to spread right-wing propaganda. But yeah, I can go on and on about how Silicon Valley is censoring stuff that exposes the elites. But the thing is that if they want to play their game to where they keep censoring that stuff, I can adapt. I can lose a battle to win a war. And this is probably something that's for the best in the long run, so that whenever enough people get disgusted with YouTube, they branch off into something else. And, they kind of start a new colony, and so the circle is complete. That way, it's kind of like it busts up its own monopoly. YouTube's monopoly on information has pissed off so many people that it busted itself up because people got so disgusted with it that they broke off. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. I love to hear creativity on this stuff. If I feel the need to talk about the bitterness and the disgusting things that evil people do, but I feel like it's a need, it's an obligation, it's a relief to talk about creativity and fun stuff and to hear, art and human imagination in the other. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.